Hello, welcome to today's Dav Chat. Thanks for joining me. I've gone with the theme Trump is a loser. That's a trending topic, and there's a great ad that someone's produced that I'm going to share with you all in just a moment. The other topics we're going to cover are Trump created a manufacturing recession in 2019. It was beginning to be reported on. It gave him strong motivation to ingratiate himself with the Chinese government in January 2020 in order to distract the media from the manufacturing recession that was beginning to spread to other industries. And indeed, the entire US economy was pronounced to be in recession by experts in February of 2020. So that was prior to any shutdown, and people who are still capable of engaging with evidence will be able to acknowledge that when it's brought to their attention, as I intend to do today. The other points are that a whistleblower from the Department of Health and Human Services complained in February that they and other officials were sent to greet repatriated Americans from China, from Wuhan specifically, the ground zero of the coronavirus 19, and that they were not given adequate training or adequate gear and were not tested subsequently for the coronavirus. So let's have a look at this excellent ad, which goes through some salient features of Trump's 4-year term so far.
Let's see what you've been up to. This is your review. So your current position, who hired you? You oversee budgets, and you were never responsible. You've really never balanced anything, certainly not your own budget. Now, your golf swing is good, but I know you get to play a lot. And for all that you play, you should be much better at the game. Just recently, you said we are in the midst of the fastest economic recovery in U.S. history. The private sector is dying. You had some clear objectives when you took the reins. How did you do there? Okay, what else? Let's see. How about marketing? Oh, you have a new slogan. First we do Make America Great Again. Then we do Keep America Great. In your case, really, that's a lot better than having the people look back because it hasn't been a pretty period. Now, you're a really good speaker. I love the way you speak. But talk is cheap. We've got to get results. Without results, it all doesn't matter. There's no reason for keeping important information away from people that hired you. Frankly, it makes us worry whether or not we can trust you at all. There are fewer people working today than when you took office. I know. It wasn't your fault. You've inherited, right? So now, despite all of this, you want 4 more years. The bottom line is the American people want results. And virtually every other country throughout the world is laughing at us. They think we're run by a fool. You're fired.
How good was that? What an excellent ad. Yes. And as for you, Jennifer Watson, we've learned recently that Turning Point USA is actually funneling money to pre-teenagers in order to saturate social media where possible with disinformation in relation to the current president. So sure, you're 18 and sure you'll vote for Trump. I mean, it's possible. A significant number of white people still do grant a very undeserved pass, a white pass, if you want, to President Trump, under the false belief that whiteness is something that needs to be protected and defended, and that we white people will lose if tolerance and diversity are celebrated for, in fact, the spur to prosperity and problem solving that they are. When we have multiple races and we have and we don't get too hung up on preserving white privilege, when it's okay for us to acknowledge the historical inequities meted out to Black Americans and Native Americans, when we can put aside the shame and just deal with the facts as they are, and we don't have to contort ourselves into knots to deny the truth, then we're less vulnerable to disinformation. if it costs us so much to lie to ourselves, we are creating vulnerabilities to predators. And the Electoral College helps put predators in power because it disproportionately awards power to states with low populations. And that's an artifact of the Electoral College system, which allowed slave-owning states with low voting populations, mostly just white wealthy landowners, and then lots of land cultivated by the forced labor of enslaved Black Americans, gave them the ability to count 3 out of every 5 enslaved people in the state towards a state population tally, which was then used to calculate the number of representatives that state would have in the House and to calculate the number of electors from that state contributing to the Electoral College system. So it is the vestigial racism of the Electoral College system that has disproportionately awarded power to relatively low population states in the United States, thus putting America at the mercy of people from states where there are historically strong ties to slave owners and historically strong bonds to the kind of stupid, self-serving and also destructive rationales about how much better white people are than people of other skin colors. It's irrational. Again, you have the folly of that rhetorical contortionism that leads you vulnerable to predators who will lie to your face to make you feel good about your irrational white superiority complexes, and then pull the wool over your eyes. And in the case of a pandemic, exploit white identity politics to such an extent that they can keep lying to your face about a pandemic and lie to your face about how dangerous it is and lie to your face about what they're doing to combat it and lie to your face about how easy it's going to be to recover from it and lie to your face about testing and the number of deaths and whether or not it affects young people and whether or not it affects children and under what conditions schools should be reopened. All of those lies, all of which have contributed to the massive death total in the United States, over 200,000 people by now, if you acknowledge the fact that excess death counts illustrate that the 200,000 mark has been reached, even if the confirmed death tally is almost at 200,000. And also the death rate for Americans of the number of your population per 100,000 is at 56 per 100,000. So you are being beaten. Mexico has less people per 100,000. Sudan has less people per 100,000. Haiti has less people per 100,000 dead from coronavirus. But Americans unfairly are at the mercy of the most stubborn, the most gullible, the most hate-filled, the most residually racist people in their society. The Woodward tapes are available to the public. So you can see that Trump on February the 7th told Bob Woodward that the coronavirus was airborne and very dangerous and 5 times more lethal potentially than the flu. That's what he told Bob Woodward, even as he spoke to the American public to claim otherwise. So that's very important. Not to mention, Trump also lies to your face about preserving the health insurance of people with pre-existing medical conditions, because he's currently and his party currently are attacking the Affordable Care Act through the court system to remove people's ability to have equal access to medical care, medical insurance if they have a pre-existing condition. Barr is, yes, definitely stepping off the ledge of covert authoritarianism into full-blown authoritarian statements. All right, so do we need to watch that video one more time? Let's do it for the trolls. It's always good to familiarize ourselves with these details as well.
Let's see what you've been up to. This is your review. So your current position, who hired you? You oversee budgets, and you were never responsible. You've really never balanced anything, certainly not your own budget. Now, your golf swing is good, but I know you get to play a lot. And for all that you play, you should be much better at the game. Just recently, you said are in the midst of the fastest economic recovery in U.S. history. The private sector is dying. You had some clear objectives when you took the reins. How did you do there? Okay, what else? Let's see. How about marketing? Oh, you have a new slogan. First we do Make America Great Again, then we do Keep America Great. In your case, really, that's a lot better than having the people look back because it hasn't been a pretty period. Now, you're a really good speaker. I love the way you speak. But talk is cheap. We've got to get results. Without results, it all doesn't matter. There's no reason for keeping important information away from people that hired you. Frankly, it makes us worry whether or not we can trust you at all. There are fewer people working today than when you took office. I know, it wasn't your fault. You've inherited it, right? So now, despite all of this, you want 4 more years. The bottom line is the American people want results, and virtually every other country throughout the world is laughing at us. They think we're run by a fool. You're fired.
The reason why I'm replaying that ad as well and think it's effective is it uses Trump's words to tie together all the various instances of his failure. And researchers have found that Trump is very effective at getting people to listen to him. There is something about his manner. I wouldn't really want to call it charisma, although I know it functions as charisma for some people. But there's something disruptive about him that compels attention. Possibly it's a very well-rehearsed stage manner because he's been on television for so many years and has a very practiced delivery. Or people sense the energy of someone who's completely untethered to the truth, who has no conscience, and who, like Hitler, can captivate a crowd because he's full of promise. I mean, those are very bad promises. The promises he's full of are that he will do absolutely anything to preserve his own interests at your expense and our collective expense. But people can sense the energy and the unbridled determination of the man. He's quite happy to withhold information from intelligence briefings, telling him about the likely severity of the COVID-19 upcoming pandemic. But he wanted to have a distraction because of a manufacturing recession that was being ever so slightly reported on in October 2019. So we're quickly going to have a look at that title of that article. This was published on October the 11th of 2019. I'm just going to show you there, October 11, 2019. And the headline is, "Manufacturing is now officially in recession, despite Trump's vow to boost industry." Today, manufacturing has plunged into recession and is threatening to pull down other sectors, perhaps hitting hardest on supporters in those states that helped put Trump in office. That's the critical sentence from this article. Impeachment may be dominating the news, but the less noticed industrial slump ultimately could pose a greater threat to Trump's re-election. As measured by the Federal Reserve, manufacturing output shrank over 2 straight quarters this year. That's the common definition of recession. A separate widely followed index drawn from purchasing managers showed September's contraction in manufacturing. Manufacturing was the steepest since June 2009, with production, inventories, and new orders all falling. After adding nearly 500,000 jobs in the prior 2 years, which Trump frequently stressed in hard hat rallies throughout the Midwest, manufacturing employment has stalled. Instead of healthy job growth, layoff announcements have surged this year, especially in battleground states such as Pennsylvania and Michigan. Friday's jobs report for September showed a slight drop in total factory jobs. So that's just the very important context. Oh, where's my... Hey. Yes, the cadence of his speech draws people in like Hitler. my camera's gone away. Oh, you're arguing that Trump developed that mannerism early on to produce results because otherwise he was beaten by Fred physically and emotionally. This isn't recreational outrage. It's a very critical outrage because Trump isn't that crazy. He's just very, very driven to advance his own interests and to protect himself, even if hundreds of thousands and potentially millions of people die. So it's not at all recreational outrage, it's life preservational outrage, because the more you bring people on board to counter the effects of cheating, etc., the stronger your chances of having a viable society going forwards. And I don't, camera's down, but it's a bit unfortunate. I wonder what I can do. It is not an American broadcast, which contributes to its value. I'm an outsider commenting on American politics, although I'm also an aspirational US migrant. Why is my camera not working? Still not working. Okay, well, I might need to go just because I might have to restart. Yes. All right. Well, thank you for the suggestion. I will close this broadcast and restart. I hope to see you all soon. I will instantly restart it.